Hi, and welcome back to the Lucy Bird channel. My name is Steph. If you have followed me on Instagram or you've been over to my website, you know that I love a lot of pieced quilts. I like to work on things that have itty bitty things in them. I like to work on wall hangings. I love the Farm Girl vintage books, but you know that anytime you're working with small pieces, the challenge is staying organized. And it's just the worst when you've gotten to sewing and you realize you've made a mistake in your patchwork and have to rip it out. I'm going to show you the way that I stay organized while I quilt. And I'm also going to show you how I can cut a lot of things in advance so that I get that part out of the way. And that way some evening when I get home from work, I can just get to sewing versus using my brain for cutting. So let's get started on how to make your own DIY design board using a Dollar Tree item. For this project, we're going to use one piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree. You can find these, they're in the school section. It's a piece that is 30 inches by 20 inches. And you can divide this into whatever size you want using just your fabric cutting rulers and an old rotary blade. I always use an older rotary blade because this will dull it. You could also use a razor blade to cut this. It's pretty easy to cut. So again, you can make this whatever size you want. The size that I love to make is I just divide this in half so that I get a piece that is 15 by 20. So cut one of these in half. It's going to yield 2 foam pieces. You can make 2 design boards from this. Save both for you or give one to a friend. This is also a great way to use up some batting that you have left behind. We know that when we quilt things, we often get some weird pieces of batting that are left. So you do need one piece of batting that fits the size of the foam board you are making. So again, for this one, 20 inches by 15. I secure the batting to the foam board and I've done this already for this project, but I just use some hot glue going around, across the middle, secure it, and you're going to get something that looks like this. You can see this was black foam board. It comes in black or white. You can choose whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. So great way to use up your batting scraps. Get that secured. And next, I'm going to show you, this is the cutest part of this, a binding you can make for it. Obviously, it is totally usable just as this. I'll show you how I use it. Making these design boards, the batting on them makes it so that your fabric sticks to it. So this is a great way to transport your projects to and from the sewing machine or to lay out color combinations. So while you don't want to get too rowdy with it, you can see it does stick to it really well. So this is how you could lay out different color combinations. It's how you could organize your block as you're going so that when you go to your pressing mat, it stays the way you want it, and you can, then it's a little bit of an easier way to see which way you're going to press your seams. That's one way I use these. A second way I use them is that for me, cutting is the part of the process that requires the most brain power. I have more of that in the mornings and on the weekends, not after a day at work. So what I like to do on the weekends is I prepare several blocks. I get them cut up, I get them stored away in my quilt room, and then that way in the evening when I get home from work and I want to work on something but I'm a little bit tired, I just take a project off of my wall. I can get it sewn up. You just want to be sure that you are marking things. And I also do have a tutorial on how to make your own DIY quilt markers, but those are just a couple of ways that I use these while I quilt. I use them all the time. So the next step for this is that we are going to make a cute little binding for these. The way I make a binding, and again, you can use leftover scraps, you can make it scrappy. You just need something that's going to go all the way around. So you use a 2.5-inch piece. So again, this could be leftover binding. And the way I prepare this is I start by pressing a 2.5 piece in half lengthwise. And I'm just doing that to find the middle. And from there, I'm going to press in each side almost as if you're making your own bias tape. So press that, and you're going to do that for the whole length of your fabric. Once you have that done, and I have a piece done here, you're going to start securing this to your foam board. Oh, sorry, one step before this that I forgot because I've already done it, is I have just gone to my sewing machine and I used a simple zigzag stitch just to stitch this into place, making sure I catch the back. So it probably is easier to sew with the back up, so you can just make sure you're catching that, and then give it one more press before getting it to your foam board. So from here, it's pretty easy. I just run some hot glue along the edge. You want to be generous, but you also don't want to like get totally wild. And I'm just where I zigzagged, I'm just attaching it there. Just kind of holding it for a bit, getting it set. Continue to do that all the way around. Get a little more back here. Once you have it all the way around and you get a place that matches here, just snip it here and just kind of overlap it, making sure you kind of glue everything. And then after you have that done, you're just going to come back with your glue gun and run a light bead inside there. Press this down. And then do that all the way around. When you get to the corners, just treat it like you would binding on a quilt. Just kind of make a nice little V. Tack it with a dot of glue. If you're, not sure if you can work with a glue gun because of the heat, they do make these little heat resistant thimbles you can use. I have just found you can power through. So once you get that all the way around, you'll do that to the front and to the back. It's going to end up looking like this. So I hope you make your own design board. I hope it keeps you organized. I hope it keeps you from having to rip out too much. And I did want to say this is a free download over on my website. It's in a password protected page on my website. You can get the password for free. It's open to anyone, but you do just sign up for my email list. I'll send you out the password. But this little wall hanging is a free download on my website, and it's perfect for using up little scraps. Stay tuned to the Lucy Bird. I'll have more tips and tricks for you next week.